The Mages of Starsea, The Starsea Cycle, Book 1.
Lucian apprentice, the doctors will see you now.
Everyone in the waiting room watched Lucian as if he were a sheep for the slaughter. When he stood, his legs were leaden weights. The tawny-haired nurse beamed a plastic smile as he approached.
How are we doing today, Lucian?
Was there even a point to that question? I've been better. She frowned, seeming to think for a moment before defaulting to a wan smile.
This way, Mr. Apprentice.
She led him through the open doorway down a short corridor. Everything was grey. Walls, carpet, ceiling. Whoever had designed this place hadn't wanted to inspire any sort of feeling. It was bureaucratic to the core, but that was the League of Worlds for you. The nurse led him into a small room bordering on claustrophobic. It contained a plastic table and 4 chairs, 3 on one side, 1 on the other. Other than that, it was utterly featureless, without so much as a window to break the monotony. It seemed impossible that the bright sun and white sands of South Shoal were just a couple of kilometers away. During what should have been one of Lucian's only metaphysical last week, all they had done was scan his head and send him on his way. He'd read that the follow-up metaphysical exam was worse, so much worse. This room looked like an interrogation chamber from a crime hollow. "Are you sure this isn't all some mistake?" he asked. I've already been tested this year." She gave a saccharine smile.
"Of course this isn't a mistake, Mr. Apprentice. Please, have a seat. The doctors will be with you shortly."
Lucian wanted to tell her that if the doctors had done their job the first time, he wouldn't be back, but it would be a waste of breath. It was like dealing with a droid. She could only say what she was supposed to say. The nurse went off, and Lucian took the single chair facing away from the door, and he waited. He was left with nothing but his unsettled stomach. At least it wasn't freezing in here, unlike in the waiting room outside. His hands and feet were still numb, and probably wouldn't thaw until he was out in the sun again. Judging from this office's inefficiency, that might take a while longer. That thought was dashed when footsteps approached from the hallway. He drew a deep breath and exhaled slowly in a vain attempt to calm himself. 3 doctors in white lab coats entered the room and took up the chairs opposite him. The leftmost doctor might have been in his 50s. He was pale, bald, and sporting retinal black-rimmed glasses. The middle doctor was a young woman with perfect features that could only have come from gene tailoring or wallet-crushing surgery. She had blonde hair, blue eyes, and a face too beautiful to be believed. The blue eyes watching Lucian were too wise for her age. Longevity treatments too, then. Only the obscenely rich could afford that. The rightmost doctor was a thick-set black man with a grandfatherly face. His salt and pepper goatee lent him an air of dignity. All 3 watched Lucian with the same controlled, neutral mask, as if he were a snake that might bite him at any minute. Yes, this metaphysical would definitely be different. Whatever news they had, it wasn't good.
"Mr. Apprentice," the blonde doctor said. "I'm Dr. Ross. These are Dr. Nowak and Dr. Wallace."
The 2 men nodded in turn at the mention of their names. Lucian looked at each of them warily, but didn't say a word. "Lucian's fine," he said.
"Lucian, then. We called you here today to go over the result of your first metaphysical, as I'm sure you know."
He swallowed the lump in his throat. "I thought those were emailed." Dr. Ross ignored the point. "We'll get you out of here as soon as we can, I assure you."
Cutting right to the chase, the exam you already took can't predict magical emergence. It merely flags potential. The next step is to do a sleep lab to confirm if anything's there.
"Sleep lab? I don't have time for that, Dr. Ross. Can't you just take my blood or something?"
"It doesn't work that way. The procedure is non-invasive, if a bit inconvenient."
Lucian couldn't wait to hear what that meant.
"It should be over in a couple of hours. You'll fall asleep in an MMI vat. The interference fluids will convert the imagery of your dreams into video and emotional feedback for analysis. Dream signatures of mages are different from that of a typical person."
MMI. Mind-machine interference.
What the doctor was describing sounded only possible with cybernetic implants. Those were banned for most civilians on most worlds, though there were exceptions. That sounds pretty invasive to me. I'm sorry. We wouldn't be doing this if there were any other way. Unfortunately, it's the law. Usually, the results come back negative. In the entire Tri-County area, we only found a mage every 2 years. The odds are 1 in 20 million after all. The exam you already did gives a lot of false positives, especially if you are under stress. So this is normal. There is no need for concern. Her face seemed to say that this was anything but normal. If so few mages were found, they couldn't have performed this test a lot. "Do you have any questions before we begin?" she asked. "We'll walk you through each stage of the process." Lucian had a lot of questions, but for some reason, he couldn't voice a single one of them. "No, let's get this over with." He was about to stand when Dr. Wallace cleared his throat. "Lucian, we have a few questions we need to ask you first, if you have none for us." "Sure, what do you want to know?" "First," Dr. Wallace continued in his deep baritone, "I want to ask you about your mother. What's your relationship like with her?" What kind of question was that? "Good? How's that relevant?" "Good?" Dr. Wallace asked, ignoring the question. "Yes," Lucian said, annoyed. "Good." "Good? You didn't answer my question." Dr. Wallace made a note on his electronic slate. Why was that important enough to make a note of? "And your father?" "You already have my file," Lucian said, unable to control his tone. "Why are you asking me this anyway? Just read my mind with your MMI test." Dr. Wallace's brown eyes were no longer as kindly. "It's important that you answer, Lucian. We need to establish a baseline." Lucian wasn't going to get out of these questions. The faster he answered, the faster he could leave. "He died in the war when I was 5. I don't remember him much." "You live alone, then?" Dr. Ross's tone held an infuriating note of pity. "That must be difficult." "It's not," Lucian said. "Why is it your business anyway? I've been taking care of myself for as long as I can remember. I've had a job since I was 15. I'm studying for the civil exam. I don't need anybody's help. I've been doing fine on my own. Would you be asking all these questions if I was 40? "Do you experience deja vu or vivid dreams?" Dr. No was asked in a nasally tone. The question made Lucian freeze, but he recovered. "No, I mean sometimes I do, but not more than any other people." "Approximately how often would you say?" Dr. Nowak pressed. "The deja vu or the dreams?" "Both." "I don't know. Deja vu once every couple of weeks, vivid dreams about the same amount." He made a note. Lucian almost rolled his eyes. "Do you have an active imagination? Or do you imagine things that often end up happening?" Dr. Ross asked. He suppressed a shiver. "No to both." "Do you ever get the feeling that something bad is about to happen and it comes true?" Dr. Nowak asked. "Never." "Have you ever considered suicide?" Dr. Wallace asked. "As a concept, sure. In reality, no." He looked at Lucian in a no-nonsense way. "Lucian, have you ever thought of killing yourself?" "I just answered that." Dr. Wallace raised an eyebrow. Lucian sighed. "No." He made another note. "Do you think you display antisocial tendencies?" Dr. Ross asked. "Have those tendencies grown stronger over the past few years?" "I'm independent," Lucian said. "I wouldn't say I'm antisocial, though." They stared at Lucian hard, as if willing him to die. What did it matter if he did have weird dreams? If he did have deja vu? Why would that matter? Even if it had happened once a day, or even more. Maybe he just had an active imagination. He didn't buy it, not for a minute. "All right," Dr. Ross said. "That'll do for questions. If you would follow us, Lucian, we'll take you to the MMI lab now." All three stood at the same time. Had they rehearsed that? Lucian followed them into the short hallway, his pulse quickening. The second test was about to happen. A part of him wanted to run, as futile as it was. They led him into a large room in the center of which stood a vertical vat. It was about 3 meters tall by 1 meter wide, filled with a viscous pink fluid. A breathing mask hung suspended in the liquid,
connected to a breathing tube and a jumble of wires. "I have to go in that?" Lucian asked. "No way!" "It'll only take an hour," Dr. Ross said. "We've done this test many times before. It's safe." Lucian had so many questions, but he was already at their mercy. He couldn't show any more weakness. None. If they wanted him to hop in that pink bath, then why not? It wasn't like he could get out of this. "Just tell me what to do." The vat wired as it rotated downward until it lay horizontal. The glass door on top slid open with a hiss, revealing the eerie pink liquid within. Both Dr. Wallace and Dr. Nowak stood beside the vat. "This is the MMI vat," Dr. Wallace explained. "You'll wear the mask and fall asleep inside, taking deep and controlled breaths. The fluid will access your brain, allowing us to see what's going on without the need for cybernetics." "Don't you have pills for that?" Lucian asked. "Standard sim pills don't project thoughts outside the brain," Dr. Ross said. "Not in any meaningful way. They are totally insular." "I assure you, the vat is comfortable," Dr. Wallace said with a chuckle. "I've been inside one myself. Very warm and cozy. Some people use them for therapy, with promising results." "I have no problem getting in," Lucian said. "Am I supposed to strip down or something?" "We'll provide you a change of clothes," Dr. Wallace said. Dr. Ross returned from his cabinet, handing Lucian a set of beige scrubs. They looked exceedingly uncomfortable. "Go ahead and put this on. There's a changing room over there. We'll be back in a few minutes." "Where do I put the clothes I'm wearing?" "Leave them in the changing room. That's where the shower is too." "Do I have to shower first or something?" She shook her head, her expression terse and annoyed. So a human person lurked under that beautiful professional mask after all. That's not necessary. The shower is for after. Once they'd left, Lucian didn't waste time. He changed in less than a minute. While he waited in a cold room barefoot, his stomach churned. He tried not to look at the vat. Whatever that pink stuff inside was, it didn't look natural. He wanted out of there. But how? The League mandated the exam. Getting a pass was out of the question. 1 in 20 million. He wasn't one of them. He wasn't a mage. A minute later, the doctors re-entered. "Okay," Dr. Ross said, forcing a smile. "Step into the vat and sit in the fluid. We'll help you with the mask. Once you're comfortable, go ahead and lie on your back and submerge yourself." Hesitation would only make him look weak. So Lucian stepped into the vat. The liquid was warm and syrupy, seeming to congeal around his foot. The warm feeling wasn't unpleasant. That was hard to admit. It was like a bath, but stickier. He immersed himself up to his torso. Both Dr. Wallace and Dr. Nowak held him by the shoulders, while Dr. Ross stood next to him, slayed out. "Don't force me under," Lucian said. "We won't," Dr. Nowak replied. Dr. Ross handed him a pill in a paper cup filled with water. "Here." "What's this?" "It'll help you sleep. The whole test is pointless without it." Lucian stared at it a moment, before popping the pill and washing it down. "Now," she said, "let me help you with the mask." "I've got it," Lucian said. The mask was floating in the middle of the vat. When Lucian picked it up, pink fluid dripped off it in long, snotty streams. The fluid even covered the inside. "Hold your horses," Dr. Ross said. "Will you let us help you?" Lucian was forced to oblige. A moment later, a disgusting sucking sound emanated from the breathing tube. Once the inside of the mask was clean, the suction stopped. "I hope you don't do that to me while I'm wearing it. There are safety features that prevent that from happening," Dr. Ross said in a weirdly wary way. "It's to clean the mask before you put it on." She helped Lucian with the mask, and he let her clamp it on. A steady supply of air entered. The mask covered the entirety of his face. At least he wouldn't have to worry about the fluid getting into his eyes. It was the small things. "Okay," she said. "Ready?" Lucian nodded. "I guess." The mask made his voice garbled and robotic. Dr. Wallace and Dr. Nowak guided him down. Actually, they were pushing him down. So much for not forcing things. Lucian fought the urge to free himself, but that would have been pointless. Before he knew it, he was completely submerged. When the glass door clicked shut, panic seized his chest. His breaths came out rapidly while his heart slammed against his chest. The vat rotated until it was completely upright. Lucian tried not to think of how exposed and idiotic he looked. But before his thoughts could race out of control, a sudden wave of drownness overcame him. It was too powerful to ignore. His heartbeat slowed, and he could barely keep his eyes open. His last view through the pink haze was of a video screen. The 3 doctors crowded around it. The image on the screen was startling. It was the world through his eyes, of him watching the doctors watching the screen, ad infinitum. It was the last thing before darkness took him.